Even one down the sideline, and he's got Carson over the top. Big down the sideline. Touchdown. His signature move and his signature performance. Allen, big ball one more time. 58 yards this time.
You're listening to the Bruin Bible. This is your host, Will Decker, bringing you UCLA football content all throughout the year for LA Football Network. What is up, and welcome to the Bruin Bible, guys. This is Will Decker, your host. A lot of great things happened in the first day of practice yesterday. I was out there with the Madman, having a blast, getting to follow college football as it is. We were scheduled to do something a little late last night, but I'm going to have to get it in early this morning as I got work, and we got to get this out to the people. Before I dive into what happened at the first practice, we got some new sponsors for the Bruin Bible. Number one, Bell to Bell Fitness with my main man, Tony Gonzalez, former UCLA boxing coach, 10 plus years of working with UCLA. He's got his own gym on the west side, and he goes by this acronym FIT, Fight Inspired Training. He teaches you how to box. He gets you the best workout of your life. If you actually drop Bruin Bible, say that you learned about this through the Bruin Bible, you're going to get a free first session. So make sure to check that out. Bell to Bell Fitness. My man, Tony Gonzalez, is going to help you get right in the gym. And then we got Shea Tor. Shea Tor is the best realtor out in Arizona. He's a former UCLA alum. In fact, when we set up this call, he was going to the Pac-12 tournament for basketball. Shea Tor, you've probably seen him on Twitter. He's always at UCLA games. If you are looking to make that next property move to Arizona, like a lot of Californians are, Shea is your guy. He's a Bruin. He's got you covered, so make sure to check those guys out. That is what we got for you in terms of advertisements. So practice. Practice was exciting yesterday. Deshaun Foster's first practice. We had Martin Jarmond in the building. Foster, you didn't hear from him a lot because you had Eric Bieniemy, the new offensive coordinator, being very loud, being very, I won't say confrontational, but coaching players up in a very hard way. And this was expected, man, with EB coming in here. I mean, if you've seen the videos of him coaching up Adrian Peterson, Patrick Mahomes, some of these guys, he gets on them hard. And that was very much the case in the early parts of practice on the first day. It was funny because last year when you had Chip Kelly, there's probably one or two times where Chip really yelled, and it was at like Muasa for like hitting a player too late, or, you know, somebody that was maybe out of spots. But it wasn't really in Chip Kelly's character to, you know, yell and be demonstrative like that on a practice field. Bieniemy was going to do that. He set the tone first day. He was yelling at his quarterbacks. I remember Chase Griffin couldn't get a play off in time, and EB was like, get him off the field, get him off the field. They don't want to be here right now. They can't lock it in. You know, he was yelling at TJ Harden. He had a couple ones going for Harden, as his main coaching resume was mainly from the running backs room. And who's UCLA's best returning running back? TJ Harden. So Bieniemy, he's going to be tough on them, but I like it, man. He's going to get the best out of them moving forward. Juan Castillo, very similar, very vocal coach. It looked like he was running more complex drills than what we saw with Tim Drevno in years past with the offensive line. So I do like Castillo as the coach of the O-line room. You know, his long tenure with the Philadelphia Eagles speaks for itself. He was Andy Reid's right-hand man when he was in Philly. And you got Andy Reid's right-hand man in EB, who was in KC. So, I mean, very good lineage both these guys come from. And the results were immediate, man. It was a lot of fun to watch that play out between those two coaches. Now to the quarterback's room. Garbers QB1. I thought Justin Martin looked sharp initially in QB2. I think he struggled a little bit more in 7-on-7 than I would have anticipated, but Garbers looked great. Garbers is a really competent Division I quarterback. He's got confidence now, too, on top of being a very, skilled player as a whole. What I mean by that is he's coming back and he's returning from beating USC, from winning the first bowl game UCLA's had since 2017. There's just a lot of really great stuff going on for our guy Garbs as QB1. And in the 7-on-7 drills, he was dicing up the defense. we've long talked about this, but the connection between him and J.Michael Sturdivant, very evident, very dominant when it gets going. We saw that in the LA Bowl when he was connecting with Sturdivant for huge plays in the second half that ultimately led UCLA to a win. I would say he was like 8 of 11, 9 of 12 through the air in the 7-on-7, just carving up the defense. He had Sturdivant on a 30-yard bomb to the left-hand side where Sturdy beat Kirkwood. That combination is going to be there all day if he gets the time. Logan Loya returning too. Loya made a nice couple of catches over the middle. Just he's got basically his two favorite targets coming back for Garbers, which is huge in Sturdivant and Loya in terms of comfortability, because he's going to need some comfortability with the schedule we've got. We go to LSU, we play Penn State. Like, this is going to be very, very tough for UCLA moving forward. So having those guys in the fold and looking the part day one, you love to see that from Ethan Garbers. The job feels like it's his right now, and everybody else is kind of competing for that backup spot. Really like Luke Duncan. He's a guy that committed to UCLA in the 2023 cycle. Really kind of committed before his recruiting was going to take off. 6'5", 6'6" quarterback, great long motions, had nice zip on the football. Duncan's got something, man. So I was hoping to see a little bit more from our guy J Mart. Maybe it's just day one of training camp. I root for Justin Martin just as much as anybody on the roster. So hopefully that he corrects, the little things that can hopefully get him near the top. But it looks, as of now, Garbers QB1 is not particularly close. Running backs room, man. I can't understate how good it is to have Keegan Jones back in that running back room, because it's basically TJ Harden. You got Anthony Adkins in there who can mix it up a little bit. But getting Keegan Jones, a veteran back there, a playmaker. I mean, we've all seen the plays he made last year in the Washington State game. We've all seen the plays he's made as a pass catcher out of the backfield. Keegan Jones is a legitimate game breaker out there on the football field when he gets it going. Keegan Jones, man, having him back there with, the likes of a TJ Harden to kind of pair them as a 1-2 punch is really, really good. TJ Harden was coached up really hard, like by EB, but he also made some great plays, and he's just so fast when he gets open in the open field. Harden is going to be a game breaker, and I think we might be due for a 1,200, 1,300-yard season with TJ Harden if everything goes right for him this year. So stay tuned for our boy TJ Harden at the running back room. Talked about the receivers a little bit. Talked about J-Mike, talked about Loya. Braden Pagan made a couple really, really nice grabs on the outside. 6'4", looking bigger, looking better, looking faster and stronger. We said last year Pagan was really good, and we weren't going to be shocked if he got some time. But that receiving core, I know the numbers weren't there, guys, but in terms of talent, it was a very deep room, deeper than UCLA is normally accustomed to on the football field. So just a lot of stuff there. So with Pagan, I think there's a real chance he can maybe come in and get some time on that outside. Couple other guys competing for time. Rico Flores looked really good, the Notre Dame transfer. Just a built receiver. He looked every bit of 205, 210 that you would want to see out there from a wide receiver. 6'1", big-bodied, wide out. Really liked what I seen from Rico. Notre Dame transfer. He had offers from Ohio State, Georgia at a high school. So this guy can legitimately play. Rico Flores, guy to keep an eye out for. And then the guy that we forgot that was coming back, how about TMA? Titus Mokiao-Atimalala returning to the wide receiver room. Just a guy you forgot about. And you're like, oh, yeah, Titus is coming back next year. So you got Titus in the fold. The receiving room is deep. There's a lot of credible playmakers there. I feel comfortable with however they want to spin it. Jaden Marshall looked bigger and stronger and faster. So there's a lot of good stuff going on there. So just a lot of positives when it comes to the wide receiver room for UCLA. Tight end room, I mean, it's 1A, 1B right now between Matavao and Habermill. I think Habermill might have a little extra gear when it comes to yards after the catch in the receiving game. But Matavao, I think, has got an edge on him in blocking and, maybe underrated in the route running game as well. So it's going to be very close. Either one of those guys you feel confident about in the tight end room. I think there's a lot of positives there from both sides of Matavao and Habermill. So you got that. Jack Peterson, one of the commitments from 2022, was out there as well. So you got him kind of waiting in the wings after Habermill or Matavao. So tight end room, I feel very confident about. The O-line room is the room, once again, that I think is going to dictate the success of UCLA football on offense. Once again, Garbers, was able to maneuver around the pocket a little bit better than some of the other options. And we had an endless QB carousel last year of Dante Moore, Collin, Schlee, and Ethan Garbers. So there was just a lot of problematic things there. But the line, especially going to the Big Ten, where brute strength and force is kind of the nature of the conference. The defensive lines, the trenches is how you really win in the Big Ten. I mean, if you look at Michigan last year, you look at Ohio State's defensive lines or Penn State's, that's how you win in the Big Ten, man. You can almost be underwhelming at the quarterback position and the skill position players, but if you can run the football, get the ball from A to B, that's how you win. And I mean, Michigan, for all its successes, I mean, Blake Corum is, he's far from the most talented running back I've ever seen. He made some nice plays last year, but I mean, that offensive line at Michigan, they have like 5 or 6 pros. I can't name one pro on this line for UCLA. Holstege, let's see what happens. I think he finished the year a little bit better, but losing to Duke Clemens is tough, man. Losing, some of these other guys, where if you had the offensive line from like 2-3 years ago, where it was Sean Ryan, Duke Clemens, Anderson, Mafi, Gaines, this is like a 9 to 10 win team. I know that's a crazy statement. Maybe 8 to 9 wins. We'll go 8 to 9 wins. 8 to 9 wins with a chance to maybe get to 9 or 10 in a bowl game. I totally believe that offense, if they had the line they had a couple of years ago, would be very, very poised on doing something huge and making big-time plays out there on the offensive end. Not saying they can't do that, but the line I've got a lot of questions about. Not enough bulk, not enough dominance. It seemed like the D-line made plays throughout practice, kind of collapsing on some run plays, on some pass plays. Obviously, you can't touch the quarterback, but just a lot of stuff there that it's a little bit concerning. And then the defensive side of the ball, I saw some very, very talented plays. Addison, the new safety out of Oregon, made a couple plays on the ball. Kirkwood made a couple plays on the ball. The first scrimmage play, it was just like a one-off play where the whole team got together. He actually knocked the ball out of Sturdivant's hands. The consistency is still going to be the key with Kirkwood. He'll make some great plays, and then he'll get burned on a couple other ones. But he looks bigger. He looks a little slender as well, a little bulkier. So there's a lot of good stuff going on with Kirkwood. Jalen Davies looks great. I think the secondary is really solid. The 2 corners you have on the outside, Davies in Kirkwood. Wallace, the transfer from Georgia Tech, looked pretty natural in the slot there on day one. Addison, as I mentioned, they've got a lot of talent there in the linebacking room. Oladejo, he's probably going to be the highest picked player from UCLA if everything goes right in next year's NFL draft. Sturdivant can easily, threaten that as well, but Oladejo is just a physical freak. He was covering, Habermill in pass protection as somebody that was, 6'3", 250. Like, this guy is a monster in so many different ways. Kane Madrano is out there looking good. Really excited about his progress from last year, so excited to see that play out. And then John Vaughns wasn't even in there. So you had Donavyn Pellot kind of out there working in his spot. D-line, a lot more questions. Didn't see a Champ Young out there just yet, but Jay Toya in the middle there coming back for next year. I think he's going to be one of the top defensive tackles within the Big Ten. If they can just find those edge rushers, whether it's Grant Buckey, whether it's a Champ Young, whether it's Devin Aupiu, it's Aupiu. He was out there edge rushing on the left-hand side. They're going to need to find something. I trust Malloy and what he's able to bring. Maybe they add some guys in the, spring transfer portal that's coming up in a couple weeks. But, this team could be good. I think 7-5, 8-4 is the ceiling on this team, if they had a better offensive and defensive line, like if they had last year's defensive line, 8-9 wins is very much in the picture. But guys, thank you for tuning in. Madman unfortunately couldn't line up our schedules, but we will be back tomorrow talking about all this stuff. Go UCLA, man. Let's have some fun.